Hello everybody, how you doing today? American Granny here. I was just sitting here talking with my husband and about the good old days. Back in the 70s and even 80s and maybe early 90s. You went into a grocery store and you only had so much money. And if you didn't budget right for the items, but you didn't realize it until you got to the cash register, we used to take those items out, and there was no shame in doing it. Yeah, we lost our place in line and went and put the item back where it belonged. Now that's not done today. Today at cash registers, I often see grocery carts with a bunch of items that have to be put back because someone didn't do their budget right. Now, if you walk into a store in my day and you were 5 or 10 cents over what you could afford, they used to have a tray that you could grab a nickel or a dime or a penny and copy or cover your difference. It wasn't dollars. That meant that you actually had to know how much money you had in your pocket before you even entered a store, before you picked up a loaf of bread. Now, I know the world has changed drastically because in my day, $50 was a huge grocery bill because a loaf of bread was 60 cents, 50 cents. Well, in the 90s, it got as high as 75 cents a loaf. And that loaf, it molded in a week. Grocery stores made a lot of money off of repeat buyers, and still do. I still shop in the same local community. I have stopped shopping online completely. Stopped it. And I've saved myself so much money. I could not believe that I could afford to buy $100 worth of groceries to last me 2 weeks, me and my husband. $100 worth of groceries. But I could afford it because I stopped paying for membership and I stopped paying for shipping on places I didn't have memberships. If I can't find it locally, I stop buying it. And I think the market is going to see that as well. A lot of people are going to go back to that, I hope. Because I tell you what, we have a lot invested, and companies have a lot invested in these brick and mortar businesses that used to provide for entire communities. And now most communities are rationing what they can buy from those big vendors. I still can't afford $5 a dozen of eggs, yet you go to Walmart and they're $5 and up. And the only reason is because the big chicken producers were forced to slaughter healthy birds that were not infected with swine, bird flu, or any other thing. And this is just an attack on the food chain. But if you're willing to pay and accept those attacks in your local community grocers, then you deserve to pay what you're paying. If you don't accept it, then you take it to your city council and you take it to the mayor in your community and ask, why are the people that live here paying such a high price for goods when there's no need for it? And some are going to scream, oh, it's the sales tax. In most states, most cities, sales tax are relatively low if the community is small. If they're not a master blast city like New York or city states like California and New York and New Jersey and now Arizona, these places are so massive they can't afford their own infrastructure because they didn't invest in it. They gave their money to corrupt politicians to give to people who are not Americans. So you pay your dues now. And I expect a lot of complaining from all sides. I don't care what side you are. I'm not a Republican. I grew up a Democrat. And I am not a Democrat. And I am not a liberal. But I am absolutely a conservative. Not about the freedom of other people in my country, but about what my government is allowed to do. And this deliberate attack on the food industry has to stop. It has to stop. In my day, there were laws against this kind of radical euthanization of our food source. Mad cow disease was determined to be because the government forced ranchers by law to ingest or put massive amounts of antibiotics into the livestock, and it was causing mad cow disease, which humans can get. Now, when this happened, they tried the first attempt, I guess, on the attack of our food chain to make all farmers have to kill off all cows, all cattle, all animals that had been fed on a regular daily basis all these antibiotics that was driving the cows into madness. It was overstep, overreach, and it didn't work. The ranchers back then had enough rights and freedom to stop the desecration of their entire supply of food. I couldn't think of the right word. Sorry. I have a Biden moment every now and then. I'm a 60-year-old woman. I'm allowed. But the truth is, they stopped it once in the past. But that was what, 20, 30 years ago? If they tell the story in the correct timeline. And don't try to alter it and say, oh, Mandela effect. There is no, that's garbage. That's garbage. Don't buy into that. That's manipulation of the timeline because they want to erase a lot of it. They don't want the future generations knowing what they did during this timeline. Just like all the ancient leaders before them have done. We have 300 years that one of the English kings made vanish. 300 years of history destroyed, and they went after every document, every idol, every symbol that even pertained to those 300 years so they could erase it. And it's well known that it was done. The Romans also did it because they wanted to make their people they were trying to conquer appear savage instead of just people. No, they were savages because they didn't live like us. They're savages. Oh, I'm sorry, that's sickening, and it still happens today. But back to the food chain. I miss the good old days when I walked in with $1 in my hand, bought a loaf of bread, paid for that loaf of bread without anybody seeing my identification or me having to give my entire life's data history to some corporation. Bring cash back. You want to know what really makes cash lose its value? You really want to know? lack of usage. You don't use it. It's value depletes. There was a time when our country became so bankrupt that it wasn't legal for our government to print out money for banks that went bankrupt. So some genius made a trading barter out of wood. You paid with that piece of wood that would say it was worth $1, it was worth 10 cents, it was worth, and you paid with that until the currency could recover, and it did. It exploded into the American economy that we know today, that is now being destroyed by digital technology that has no value. You will own nothing, you will have nothing, and you will like it. That is the motto of a socialist world order. I don't want to live in that. I like having freedom of choice. And attacking our food chains is decimating our society. It's making it unaffordable. When you got to choose between electric and groceries, you're not just choosing between medications and groceries anymore. Now you're choosing between utilities and groceries and your medicines. That, we cut out so much electric use in our house that we had this incredible thing happen. At first it was awkward. It was really kind of unsettling, and I couldn't figure out why. I have so much unplugged. I unplugged all my TVs. We got rid of our internet, and because $180 a month for internet? Seriously? HughesNet has lost its mind and losing its customers like a hemorrhage. But we got rid of, my mom had Dish Network, and we kept it for as long as we could. But that was another $130 to $150 a month that we got rid of. And the drop in the use of electricity in my home was actually unsettling. It was like something was missing. I was so used to the electronics all pulling from my walls and my environment, and I never recognized that it was influencing my health and my mental thinking. Because after the first couple of days and I adjusted to not so much of an electrical environment, I started noticing things that would trigger me were no longer triggering me. Things that kept me anxious and full of anxiety were not having that effect anymore. I even saw a decline in my ADD and my, I can't think of the word. Damn, I hate that. Depression. I still think about the things. I lost 13 people. And several pets. More than several. 7. So I went through a lot in just the last 5 years. All that happened. And the depression that was consuming me every morning, making it almost impossible for me to just get up every morning and do basic things. We call them chores, but they're not actually chores. They are a chore. You have to do it. It's something that's required because you have an animal, or you have a child, or you have a home. So they're chores. They're just normal necessities that usually I would do first thing in the morning without even thought, almost robotic in nature. Go in, turn on lights, feed plants, feed animals, set up coffee for myself, set up breakfast, take whatever vitamin or whatever, prepare things for my husband throughout the day so that when he went to work at night, he's got his lunch, he's got a good meal, he has clean clothes, he has all the things that he needs because he provides all the things I need. And that is a marriage. That's how it's supposed to work. You take care of each other so that, that's healthy for both, healthy for your environment. And turning off all the electronics in my home. I unplugged TVs, my mother's TV, and a spare TV that we have in a guest room. I unplugged those, and we're, basically down to a DVD player and television that we use a little bit at night in the evenings to unwind. We just watch old movies. We've had built up a pretty good collection, so we got a couple years worth of movies we could watch instead of television. My son was very surprised to find out we had no public TV here. Yeah, we don't even have a TV station that can reach our area. I didn't know that until I lived here. And when we turn off the internet, of course, that means no television for us. Especially, we got rid of Dish, and so no television. So we only turn on a television to watch a movie. Our electric bill has already gone down by almost $200. And my husband and I are not full of anxiety. Our brain is not constantly in worry mode, which I could imagine electronic disruption of the electrical signals your body puts out is affected by your environment. I never thought of it that way until I started getting rid of the stuff and seeing the changes, not only in my money, but in my health. I have less problems with my heart without all the electrical environment disrupting the rest of my body. It's amazing. Technology is a double-edged sword. Every human knows it. But we're already seeing where it's having harmful effects mentally, emotionally, physically on the human race. Yet people, big tech, is pushing and pushing and pushing. I don't know what's going to change to make us more compatible with the electronic world we live in. Because I know that that's a refrigerator back there. It hasn't worked for 6 months or more. It's only 3 years old. Dead. Now, the refrigerator I gave up to get that refrigerator, which cost me almost $3,000 when you put in all the taxes and all that. Almost $3,000. Now the refrigerator that I owned, I paid $40 or $50 used. It was a Frigidaire or a Whirlpool. It was an old one, like the 90s. That thing is still working. Still working. And I gave it up for that piece of junk. If you ask me, LP, which is the Samsung Corporation, they owe me $3,000 because they sold me a lemon product. I've got a Samsung washer that to wash one load of 3 items can end up taking up to 2 hours to do, of 3 pieces, 3 jeans, because it can't keep balance for nothing. You have to, every time it goes into any kind of spin cycle, you have to stop, run back, turn it off, wait for it to unlock so you can open this and rebalance the load again. I watched it shift everything out of balance in the load. Because when it begins, it starts turning, then it puts on the brakes. That causes a shift. Then it'll do it again a couple more times. And then it will wobble like crazy because everything's out of balance. Instead of just going into the old-fashioned spin cycle while everything is still in balance. This thing it was a piece of junk. And I paid $1,000 or $1,200 for it. It's a piece of junk. The fake economy that has taken over my country is appalling. Never should be happening. It really shouldn't. But we allowed it to happen. We Americans allowed our country to become what it is. We Americans are finally standing up and saying, okay, enough. But not enough of us are standing up and saying, we have rights too. We have laws against products like these being put on our market for consumers. We have laws against it. Will Samsung and LP ever pay me back the money I owe? Or they owe, not me. They owe. No, they won't. They'll just eat that profit and smile. Sucker. Well, I'm tired of being a sucker. So now when I shop, I go used. Every time I gotta buy a replacement of anything, I go used. I will not buy new until the restoration of the goods on the shelves and the goods in my marketplace for you, for refrigerators and stoves and microwaves, is restored. I'm not interested in your product. What about you? Alright, made this a super long video, probably won't put it up. But I might, you never know. Because I may decide I'm not making any more today. I just wanted to let you know that back in my day, we did do things very differently. But I've grown up into an old woman with the technology. Everybody is saying, you just don't know how to use it. I know how to use it just fine. In fact, I was writing Cobalt and Fortran before computers were ever put in a home. When a cell phone was this big, I was writing code. So don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I do. And I'm 60. And if I grew up with this, so did you. And most people do know how to operate it. The only ones who don't are people who were so busy working that they didn't take advantage of the technology they were giving their children until they retired. So now they're learning the usage of it. I have to tell you, as a retired person, or should be retired, this technology is great for wasting time. For those times when my body is not letting me get up and move around, it's a great substitute. So, alright, I rambled enough. And we'll probably title this one that. Just a rambling brain. I love y'all. Don't be so hard on yourselves. Recognize every person has a purpose in this world. You may not understand it till the end, but at the end you do realize and you do recognize you always had a purpose. American Granny.